So, this was never really scary for me, but it really creeped my friends out when I mentioned it. Up until I told them, I just genuinely thought it was an event I truly witnessed in person. During senior year of high school, my group of girlfriends were having a sleepover, as graduation was approaching and we wanted one last sleepover before we went away for college. It was your typical high school sleepover, movies, snacks, and staying up to unholy hours talking about random bull. During our late-night ramblings, the topic comes up that the group had never seen a friend who we'll call Audrey cry. Not that she wasn't capable, she just was never overly emotional. So at this point, I pipe up and casually mention, "I've seen you cry." This of course drew curious questioning from the group, and a confused look from Audrey. Her confusion threw me off because I clearly remembered the event, but she had no clue what I meant, so I elaborated. I started in recalling from 2 years previous. Her first serious boyfriend had broken up with her, and she was pretty upset about it. So another close friend we'll call Becca and I visited her to keep her company and try to cheer her up. I recalled in detail how we sat on her bed with Audrey at the head, Becca in the middle and I at the foot of the bed. That we watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, because it always cheered Audrey up. And that halfway through the movie she began to cry, at which point her father came in to give her a hug and calm her down again. I couldn't recall anything else from that day, but that moment was very vivid. Again, I was telling this story completely believing it was simply an event I was there for, but when I finished my story, Audrey and Becca had sat up in bed looking very weirded out. "Who told you that?" Audrey asked, sounding kind of annoyed. "You weren't there," Becca said, very confused. "No one told me. I was there, don't you remember?" I laughed it off, but they both shook their heads. "We remember that day exactly the same, but you weren't there." They both agreed. At this point I was getting a little weirded out too, just hoping they were just pulling my leg, but they wouldn't have known I'd tell that story, nor have time to decide. They'd both forget I was there. So I decided they weren't lying. We kinda just dismissed it after that as a strange occurrence of being there in spirit, or some weird Mandela effect split off. It still weirds them out to this day though, so I've just kinda stopped mentioning it so they don't think I'm crazy. This content was provided by angelotricarico.com. Subscribe to the channel for more stories.